People are asking, how can I deal with failure? And I'm going to walk you through how to deal with failure. But in order to understand how to deal with it, you need to understand exactly what failure really is. Because what most people think is they think that if you saw a road sign that was showing you the direction to failure, you would think that success road sign points that direction and the failure road sign points that direction. But that is not how it works. The road sign to failure would actually point the same direction as the road sign to success, because failure is actually just a practice that you made that didn't work. So now it's taking you closer to knowing what is going to work. You are not your mistakes. You are the creation that came from your mistakes. And what happens is, as you have failures, as you make mistakes, what's going to happen is you are going to create the person who can receive the success that is coming. You cannot receive the success if you haven't had the failures, because the failures are simply a way for you to take the 1,000 possible ways that might work when there's actually maybe one, and you try this way and it doesn't work. And so now you've eliminated that way. Now you try this other way. You try way 972, and that's not the one that works either. And with your creative mind, you come up with another idea and you try number 652, and that didn't work. And so you think, I'm a failure. You think, I try and I can't get it right. What you don't understand is failure is simply one effort at a time, trying to get it right. And when you realize that you're not getting it right, guess what happens? You now can eliminate. You can eliminate that possibility. You eliminate that option, and you are actually a step closer to your goal. Sara Blakely is the first woman billionaire, and she achieved that by creating a company called Spanx. Spanx is a company that sells garments to women that make things tight so that they look thinner or they don't look as bumpy. That's the company. And it has spread into other pieces of clothing. But let me tell you something that she says when she is interviewed and asked about her success. She says, when I was in high school and I was a teenager, every day my brother and I would come home from school, and when we would eat dinner together as a family. And she said, my dad would always ask us, what did you fail at today? And he would ask it like he was excited. And she said, we knew that if we didn't have something that we failed at that day, my dad would be disappointed. He would be disappointed in me because he knew that if I hadn't failed at anything that day, that what that meant was that I hadn't done anything outside of my comfort zone. I hadn't tried anything that was a little bit hard for me. And so she said, I learned to value failure and be excited when I failed at something, because I could come home and tell my dad and he would be proud of me. That's what failure is. And we get so busy deciding whether we were good enough, or whether we did it right, or we did it wrong, or if we're a failure, or someone else is a success. What was Peter? Was Peter good? Was he bad? Was he a success? Was he a failure? Well, a lot of people would say, well, he's a success because he was an apostle of God. So, well, he did a lot of dumb things. He made mistakes. So does that make him a failure? Well, the kind of failure we're talking about, yes, and it's a good kind. That's exactly what we want. So was he a success or was he a failure? Well, he was both, because he did exactly what God wanted him to do. He kept trying, and he would mess up, and he would try again. In fact, he was so amazing that Jesus called him the rock. Let me tell you what he said. And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So even the gates of hell cannot even fight it, because it will be so strong, because you are the rock. And then he proceeds to say, and I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. In other words, whatever you decide is good to do, I'm going to go along, because I know that you are such a rock that you will only do what you know I would want you to do. He is that amazing, that successful in the calling that he had and what he was meant to contribute when he was on this earth. But just a few verses later, Jesus calls him Satan because he made such a bad mistake. Let me tell you what happens. Jesus knows that he's going into this most sacred, Jesus knows that he's going into this most sacred, most powerful moment of his life, most difficult thing he is going to do. And he knows how important it is. And this is what Peter says to him. Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, "Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee." So here, this is the whole reason that Jesus came, is so that he could save mankind. And Peter is saying, no, 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 you don't have to do it. You do not need to do this. He's saying it because he cares about Jesus. He loves him. He doesn't want Jesus to have to die. He doesn't want this to have to happen because he doesn't really understand. Then what did Jesus say? It says, but he turned and said unto Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense to me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men." He calls him Satan. You cannot think of a worse thing to call someone. But it was what Peter was trying to tell Jesus was so against what Jesus was meant to contribute, that he said, that is so horrible. Get thee behind me, Satan. In other words, don't turn me from my mission. So Peter, who was amazing in a rock, he was a success, but he made a mistake. So was he a failure? I want you to remember this story and remember the story of Sara Blakely. And I want you to remember what failure is. And how do you deal with failure? You embrace it. You truly embrace it. It doesn't have to feel good. You don't have to love it, but I want you to embrace it, because now you understand what it really is and what it really means. It means you are one step closer to success. I care about your success. I want you to be able to contribute the thing you were meant to contribute. You know you have it in you, and you've been holding back, and I want you to get going and get on it. I want you to not just think different, be different.